You're listening to the AZREIA Show. If you're looking for quality real estate investing information that you can trust, you've found it. Stay tuned and join the tens of thousands of members that have already benefited from AZREIA, your home for education, market information, support, and networking opportunities that will advance your real estate investing career.
Welcome to another episode of the AZREIA Show. Thank you for being here, guys. We always love to bring you fresh, great content, great instructions, and great resources. So I'm Marcus Maloney. I'm the host, and we have Mike Prete, our co-host and executive director of AZREIA. How you doing, Mike?
I am wonderful.
Man, I am feeling that blazer. I do like that blazer. I like the color.
Thank you.
If you guys are listening, Mike has a gray and navy blue blazer that looks good. Just giving you guys some visual if you're
let's keep going, Marcus.
Listening versus watching.
Handsome.
Yeah.
Not tall. Oh, well, what about the pin? You got.
I do like the AZREIA pin. I need one of those. You got one of those for me?
You have to take the code of ethics training.
Okay.
And then you'll earn one.
I'll earn one. Okay.
Let's get it.
So if anybody want a pen,
you get one.
Go through the code of ethics.
All right.
So, but today, me and Mike want to have a candid conversation about really the state of the real estate market, and not only that, but just some in-depth questions about kind of what we're going through and what we're seeing in the market, and as business owners, what we're seeing. So, Mike, man, I guess I'll start with you. First of all, thank you so much for having me on the panel this past month. So since you had a chance to ask me a ton of questions.
The Marcus and Greg Slaughter debate. Had everyone buzzing.
Right. So, ding, 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 ding. Let's go, Greg.
If we have the replay in the community of the panel and last month's monthly meeting in September, so feel free to check that out.
All right. So, Mike, quick question, man. You and your fabulous wife, Dominique, you guys work together. And there's a thing out there called work-life balance. But as an entrepreneur, real estate investor, business owner, how do you balance, when to talk about work, when not to talk about work, when to cut it off, because it can always spill into your conversations.
It does. So that's a big question, right? And I think it's a team thing. It's a team effort. So, however, it's also part of life. It's a choice that you've made with your partner, right? So if it's an issue and you guys I'm not the best communicator, we're always working on it, right? Especially us men.
Yeah, true.
No, I don't want to stereotype for you, Marcus. I know you're perfect.
No, I'm not perfect.
No.
I'm pretty close.
All right, see, I knew it. We like to think. So, communication, right? So if you're communicating and, maybe setting boundaries or having these open discussions, you'll know what is right and when is right, if you're listening when you're communicating, which I've learned. You know what I'm saying? I think if you guys have that communication, like for us, between business, AZREIA, like at one point we were doing real estate agent, buying rental properties, flips, wholesaling, running a hair salon, like your kid, like I would probably say the biggest boundary about it was maybe more around our son, like obviously paying attention, but even him, like he probably heard a million phone calls before he even took his first real estate phone call,
Okay.
So we're just always on the go. So it's just life. Like we're sitting at a restaurant and you're breaking down the service. You're breaking down how you were treated when you came in, right? It's just life and it's what you do. So I don't really look for that balance. I think it's the journey in which you enjoy. Like if I didn't like talking about business, or if there's something that if I'm not in the mood to talk about, you say, hey, let's change the subject, and your partner usually respects that, right? So
and the good thing about you and Dom is because both of you guys have that entrepreneurial aspirations, right? Both of you guys are always independent learners, independent workers, but when you have that W-2 employee and then you have one that's an entrepreneur, naturally that entrepreneurial brain, as entrepreneurs, we can't cut the brain off, right? We can't cut that off. We're always thinking, strategizing and thinking about something. But that W-2 employee, it's a little bit different. I'm trying not to generalize, but it's a little bit different because When they off,
different. It is.
they're off, right?
Yeah, 5 o'clock, whatever that time. No, that's totally true, and that's okay, right? There's no, it's not right or wrong. It's just going back to that balance, the communication, right? What works for you. So, your wife doesn't have a business,
Right, correct.
So how's that work in your world?
You know, it can be challenging at times, because I'm the type of person it's always something that can be done. It's always time to work on something.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I get a little guilty when I'm just sitting down watching TV, watching a movie. It's like, hey, you could be doing this, you could be working on this. And she's like, just sit down and relax and take it easy. And I'm like, no, but I got these 10 things on my list that I need to get done. So it is challenging sometimes, and but we work through it, like you said, with communication and stuff like that.
It's in anything in business. Like I can imagine. So one way I try, right, especially like when you go down that whole sales world and communication, it's like put yourself in the other party's perspective. Even we're in political season, Republican, Democrat. Like if I'm in that type of conversation, I will be in that other party's shoes. Like, why are they there? What are they thinking like this for? Where do they come from? Like, and I'd really try to understand that other perspective before you blast off in your mind. But that's I had one story I always tell the groups is like a gentleman, we were talking about vision boards, and he was like, he's a CPA, and he ultimately wanted to get rentals and maybe retire early or quit his job. And he had, I was like, where's your vision board? I got a vision board. Where do you look at it every day? Where do you, visualize your whole experience that you're going to be creating? And he's like, oh man, my wife thinks it's like woo woo foo foo, so she's embarrassed and doesn't even want friends or family to know or see it. And I was like, ooh, right there, I was like, I'll probably never see this gentleman again. And I was like, where is it? And he got his wallet out, and he pulled it out of his wallet, and he just started opening up this little piece of paper, and it kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And he showed me his vision board that was wrapped up in his wallet, and he says, I look at it every day before I go into work.
Okay.
Support, right? So either way, right? Like he didn't have that support. I did not ever see him again, and it's unfortunate, right? So if you don't have that support, either going both ways, W-2 or entrepreneurs, whatever it is, it's going to be a struggle because you want your partner to pat you on the back, like good job,
celebrate you.
And if you ain't getting that, and it's involved like, yo, what are you doing? You're always working. It's always a complaint. It's going to be hard, man.
Yeah.
You got to talk.
And I know that's one thing that you talk about when you do the coaching on the entrepreneurial assessment, right? You always talk about, is your spouse on board with what you're doing? You're looking into real estate investing. Is your spouse on board with it? And if not, what can you do, not to get them on board, but just to, explain your position to them, why you think it's a benefit.
Yeah. So you take the entrepreneurial assessment, 25 free questions, helps you figure out if you're an active or passive investor, so you can determine which education and networking path to go down. So that's AZREIA.org/ESA. However, after that, what we're going to do is invite you to the Launchpad. So going to what you were just saying. We had to put.
You like that tee up though, don't you?
Yeah, that was a good one. Man. It's so funny, man. My brain. So we'll invite you to the Launchpad. So that's what we say. When you come to the Launchpad and build your mini business action plan, we say bring your spouse.
Yep.
Whether they're going to be in it or not, just so they understand what you're doing and what's going on. So when you say, hey, I'm going to buy this house with no roof and some fire damage, and I'm going to take some money out of our bank account, they understand why and what's going on, and so it's a team process. So, yeah, man, good question. That's a long one. We could probably talk a long time on that.
Now, another thing, and I'm getting my questions in, Mike. Another thing is, right, we often hear, burn the boats, quit your 9 to 5. If you're going to do real estate, jump all in, everything like that. What's your perspective on that? Because what I find is, and honestly, this is what I tell people, if you enjoy your 9 to 5, if you enjoy what you do, and it's a part of your purpose, continue to do that and do real estate, as an investment vehicle for whatever your goal is. And I think having that W-2 helps you as a real estate investor become bankable and securing financing and everything like that, especially in these economic economic times, what's your position on burning the boats and just jumping out there? And how do you be bankable, right, when you're a solopreneur or an entrepreneur? What are some of the things that you need to have, ready before you sit down with a lender? I know that's a long question.
Yeah, you asked me like 4 questions.
Right.
Marcus. Okay, I'm just kidding. No, I like what you said about, be strategic.
Mm-hmm.
How about that? If you have a plan, you're getting around people that are experienced, right? And you're in the right circle of investors that have done it before, you can get some good insight. That's why you come here. And then create a plan. So when you're new and people are like, I want to wholesale to fix it, to make some money, to fix and flip to make some bigger money, then I'm going to buy my first rental. They say that, great. That could be a year, it could be 3 years, you might lose your butt, whatever. You can buy your rental today, right? If you, or at least start getting yourself,
Yeah.
I'd rather go down the wholesale flip rent, get bankable, like you're saying, and continue, keep your job. Be strategic, okay? So
Yep.
use your job, leverage. When we say real estate's an ideal investment, that's what L is, leverage. Other people's money, other people's resources, other people's time. Leverage, leverage, leverage. So if you're new, leverage the knowledge around you, get in the right networks, leverage your bank financing, leverage your job, leverage your credit to get a rental and get things rolling and learn the business and get experience. So that's a good thing. I'm also a big proponent of burn the boats, because at some level, if you use that, hey, I'm just going to keep my job. Are you really happy? Do you really want to be at your job? Are you? I can't say, like, are you at your job for a long period of time because you're scared, or are
Right.
you, and you're just lying to yourself, or do you really want to be out of there? Sometimes people have jobs they just love. They don't want to know more. They just want to be there and continue and retire there. No, it's just where you at. So
Right.
don't lie to yourself and leverage your job and everything in the beginning. Do what you got to do, but at some point you gotta make a move.
Yeah. Right. Don't stay in that job if you're unhappy, right? But still, if you want to be a real estate investor, there's things that you can do to prepare yourself while you are working at 9 to 5, right? I think like one of the things that I did during the whole pandemic time was I used that time to position myself in another market. Right. So it was like, okay, well, while everybody else is sitting down watching TV, watching movies because nobody can go outside, I use that time, and a lot of other people use that time to better themselves. So when you come out, right, you can move forward.
No, it was when you
What?
No, man. When you were saying during COVID you adapted, like, yeah, no, that's huge, man. And I started those little arrows on the grocery floor.
Like,
yeah. You can keep following those arrows, buddy.
Yeah.
Go get it. Go find another market. So yeah, man. Burn the boats. At some time, you got to have that fire to make a bold move and make a quantum leap of some sort, right? It just is what it is. So I do believe in the burn the boats, but you could do it at, like, I've seen a lot of people come here and they do it maybe at the wrong time, maybe a little premature.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes when you have your back against the wall, that's when it all happens, right? What's your risk level? What's your life? It's a different question for everybody, but at some point you can maybe set yourself up a little bit and tee yourself up, right?
Yeah.
Or you could burn the boats and make it happen. I'm gonna let you answer. The listener, answer.
Right.
That.
It's your commitment level, right? If you're truly committed to it, then you'll find a way to make it happen. You'll find a way to get it done.
Feels good when you do it.
It does. And you look at yourself and you be like, wow, you be amazed, right? You're amazed at how I accomplished this. And everything is not going to line up the way you have it, right? It's not going to go from A to B to C to D. You may go from A to D, then to C, then to F, so life is just unscripted and you got to live like that.
It is unscripted. Interesting. All right.
So what you got, Mike?
Oh, I gotta ask you questions. All right.
No. Let's flow.
So if you guys like Marcus and I just chatting about these topics, let us know in the comments and the reviews. Send us a message. We're probably gonna do more of this because it's unscripted, right?
Right.
So, in order to run a podcast and have a guest every single week for 3 years, it's challenging. Right? Like the goal of here originally with the podcast is get local plumber, local everything title company, contractor, investor, but what you come to learn is these are entrepreneurs and they have busy lives. And not everyone's made to be in front of a camera. Yeah. I still struggle, right? Like, so to get the best contractor in town to sit in front of a camera and talk and articulate their great experience, it's our job to try to pull that out. But sometimes they cancel, right? Yeah. Or they're busy, a little nervous, whatever. So it's a struggle. So we started going national. Like, we started getting national speakers and people coming on here, people that do this professionally, want the attention for marketing, and are able to articulate their knowledge very well. So you've probably seen that. But at the same time, I think we have a lot to share, rather than just interviewing every single week. So we're in the business every day. We're going through the challenges, the successes. So we want to share some more of that in the podcast. Right. As a seasoning into the mix. So we're giving each other some random questions. We didn't, we just kind of made them up, and we're just kind of going with the flow. So the first one I'm going to go into is unexpected issues in a fix and flip. Ooh. So let's just chat about that. Ooh. What are some unexpected things you may have dealt with, and or people should look out for, or whatever maybe?
Unexpected things in a fix and flip. It's funny that you say that, because it's this number that's up on my iPad is a property that we're acquiring, a 2-flat. And one of the unexpected things that we ran into was lead-based paint. So, I mean, it's like timing, right? So, yeah, you know what? You can't plan for everything, but you got to try and plan for most everything, right? Okay. Because you got to make sure you have a buffer in your numbers and in your spreadsheet for those unexpecteds, right? When I was doing the flip in the Midwest, one of the things that was unexpected was we sealed up the basement, got everything prepped, ready, drywalled, mudded, and as we was about to paint, it rained, and we noticed that the basement was leaking. So it was like everything that we put in one certain area, we had to rip it out and redo it. Did we plan that? Was it expected? No, it was absolutely unexpected. But because I buffered or padded my budget, it was like, okay, I knew something was going to happen. Didn't know it was going to be this, but we had the money set aside in order to do it.
And is there what are some, a amount of money easily put, or a percentage?
I would probably add another 5 to 8% contingency.
Okay.
All
right.
Just in case.
For sure. And if it works out perfect or better,
right, you got that money, it's a profit.
And just that's one thing, right? Like, that leads into buying right. Right? Like, unexpected. You may have heard Marcus and I talk about a property we had in Mesa, where this was back when the interest rates doubled overnight, whatever it was. Yep. We got stuck with the property longer than we thought. The air conditioner went out, right? Didn't think that was going to go out. It wasn't that old. So there was a lot of these. They had the septic things we had to fix. So there was a lot of unexpected repairs, and the timing. It sat on the market probably 6 months, 7 months longer than we initially forecasted. However, when you buy the property correctly, this is going to be the ultimate, buy right. You hear that all the time. Buy right, buy right. This is what we mean. Like, we bought deep enough where we were able to weather a storm. So even if your percentages were off or whatever it was, that ultimately saved our butt. I think we literally broke even. Pretty much. One more month we'd have been shoot. But buying right. So your numbers up front. Right, because you could, especially if you're newer to real estate, or maybe you haven't had a deal in a long time. Sometimes you get a little antsy. You got to keep the crews running or whatever it is. Don't ever go outside your numbers and buy wrong, because these deals I see floating around, ARV 400, asking price freaking
380,
380, even 3. There's just no margin there, right? But make offers on those, but buy right.
Yeah, and some of these seasoned investors, and Greg said it good the other night. He was like, put your pencils down. Sometimes you just got to put your pencil down and say, right now is not the season for me to buy. And it takes discipline in order to do that, right? Because you'll hear people say, well, I just bought this and I just bought that and we made money over here. Sometimes you have to put your pencil down, re-strategize, and then go back out there and start hunting again. But that's one of the things that's hard for that entrepreneur, is because we always got to be doing something, right? We always got to have some kind of project in the pipeline. But it's okay sometimes to sit on the side and evaluate what's going on in the market.
Yeah, for sure, man. So either just pause and evaluating, maybe switching markets which is something we talked about. That also kind of goes into, we're segueing into like another question I had, so buying right, having enough money in the plan or in the deal. Let's see, what was my other one? We were talking about.
So kind of talking about buying right. I use this as an example. Just closed on my new primary last Monday, and I was a little concerned because of the interest rates and everything like that, and everybody talking, well, if you just hold off and wait a month or wait till next week, later on this week, interest rates supposed to go down and everything like that. And I was like, okay, well, looking at the interest rates, looking at the price, I said, one thing that I do know how to do is negotiate to get that price to where I need it to be, to where almost the interest rate didn't matter. Yeah, the interest rate matters, but as long people buy based on their monthly budget, what can I spend on a mortgage every month? If you hit that number, it don't matter if the interest rate is 6%, 7%, 2%, 3%. If you can afford that mortgage, then that's how you're going to buy. So the interest rate was high. I negotiated with the seller, got the price down $40,000, then negotiated with the lender, bought my interest rate down. So now I'm in that sweet spot where I want it to be. So there's always little nuances and little things that you can do in order to make sure you buy right.
So yeah, that goes to the next question, right? So some people are like, nothing cash flows, interest rates are high, right? So can't find any deals because of that. So that kind of leads right into like, so what do you do? Like, how do you stay in the game? Although it might be a little bit more time in between deals, right? So you always make offers. So those are some topics.
Yeah.
Negotiate. What are some points within the negotiation that could help that?
Well, in our wholesale step-to-step class, I always tell people you can negotiate around everything, right? It's more than just price. You can negotiate around the terms of the contract, the closing date, the earnest money deposit, any concessions, anything like that. So, it's in order to buy right, you have to know what your right price is, that strike price, and then know what you can negotiate around. So, yeah, I negotiated around the interest rate. I negotiated around the price. And then the seller needed a holdback period. So I said, okay, well, you know what? I'll give you a holdback period, but I need $5,000 down on the price, an additional $5,000, right?
You got to ask.
And then I negotiated with the listing agent. So the split was, he was to get 3%. The buying agent was to get 2.5%, or no, 2%. I said, we'll take this deal if you switch it. Give me the 3%, you take the 2%.
Because you're an agent.
Because I'm an agent. Right. Because I'm an agent. I said, let's switch it, the broker agreement. Give me the 3%, you take the 2%. That way that this property will fit right into my buy box as far as pricing.
Yeah, so you're looking at all the different levers within a deal. There's a member here last night, we're talking about a building he's buying, and that's the same thing, right? Like, so he was taking over someone owned a building, and they were not doing well with the project, or they wanted to get out of the project. So he stepped in and started negotiating with the owner and the note holder, because the current owner had a carryback of some sort. Okay. So there's no banks involved, so it's all private. So that's another thing, right? Just like raise money, get private lenders. And then you can create terms that fit the whole deal. It helps that private lender reach their goals with their money, and it allows you to maybe structure things. Like, one thing I told him, I was like, you got to bring this property up to speed because it's deferred maintenance. I was like, ask for 6 months deferred payment. Make your first payment start in 6 months. You still accrue what's
Right,
owed in
right.
the back, but so it'll give you some breathing room up front. So you just got to get creative and fill your toolbox with the seller carryback knowledge, the subject to knowledge, the wrap knowledge, the negotiation knowledge, raising private money knowledge. So if you could tap into more deals if you raise money, and you get better at understanding how to structure a deal versus interest rates are high, nothing pencils.
Right. Right.
You'll be
I can't do anything.
Yeah. So if your back's against the wall, you're a go-getter, you will learn and you will figure it out. If you're not a go-getter, and you'll just not do it.
Yeah. And a lot of these creative things, and negotiations and, like you said, structuring deals, a lot of it I learned right here in AZREIA, just from hearing conversations and speaking with other members.
We talk.
Because we talk, right? And that was one of the things. It was like, well, why don't you just flip, the broker commission structure? So now you get another point. So I'm like, okay, well, that's another $5,500.
It's just being around the right people.
Exactly.
That's all it is. Cool. All right, man. Time's going to be wrapping up. One last one. I'll go here before we wrap up. I always hear a lot. Grant Cardone. We all know Grant. Very motivational. I watch his whole thing since he started, right? So I enjoy watching the guy. But right now, a big thing he's saying is, don't buy a house. Don't buy a house. It's a waste. Da 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 da. I even heard Alex Hormozy say it. Do you follow him at all? I love both of their information. I like watching both of them. And I recently saw, especially Alex, his business knowledge and marketing knowledge is huge. But he also just recently said it. But what are your thoughts?
It's perspective, right? I think home ownership is one of the key ways to wealth creation. So I'm not on that train of don't buy a house. It may not be a house, but it may be property, right? So it may be, if you don't buy a house, it may be a lot that you can generate some income from. Because a big thing that's going on in the East Valley is people are buying lots because a lot of the contractors live in the East Valley. So they're basically doing open lot rentals. So basically the contractors, they have their trailers, trucks, all where they live at have HOAs. They can't have their trailers there. So they bring them to these open lots and they park them, things like that. So it's ways that you can find to generate revenue, and I just think that buying a home is just the start of wealth creation.
Yeah, these guys, like I said, going back to why are they saying this, right?
Yep.
So it's they're multi-millionaire, billionaire, whatever you want to say it is. They fly private jets. They fly the best of everything. When you have buku bucks stacked in cash, when looking at that, if I could hop in a jet and pay 40, 50 grand to take a trip, and I have a $300,000 house, that could be a headache. Tenant doesn't want to pay $100. Of course,
right.
I could see that perspective, right? But we have to take a step back and say, just like when people get mad at Dave Ramsey, right? Take a step back. Who are we talking to? So for us, that we're talking to the AZREIA member, right? The person that we said wants to quit their job and buy their first rental property or get into their first flip, or they own 10 rental properties, whatever it is. We're a smaller mom and pop investor, and we're trying to make life-changing moves to take care of our family. And the private jets may be in the vision board, but it's not here right now. So what do we do to get there?
Right.
I can imagine both those guys when they started their businesses, and 90% of all businesses fail in the first 5 years, whatever it is. I don't think they were worrying about that, right? They're probably saying how I can flip this house and make a buck, stack it. So to them, I lost them on that perspective of don't buy a house. It's changed my life. We talk about equity and appreciation and time and being 14 years in the business. When I have access, not one of my properties has more than 30% LTV. So if shit hit the fan, sorry, I forgot. Whatever. But I have access.
Yeah, you got access to
money.
capital. Yep.
If a deal comes along, I don't have $100 million in my bank account, right? You know what I'm saying? I could tap into equity in my units or my houses and buy another property, take advantage of a deal. put my son through college, whatever it is. That's just where we're at.
Yeah.
So I just, don't fall for that right now, man. Buying property, cash flow, it is tough. I'm not saying it's easy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But it's work, but it pays off. We're both living experience.
And one of the things that I always say is when you're communicating, it's a two-way street, right? You got the sender and the receiver. And when you're trying to understand this level of communication, like you said earlier, you got to put yourself in that sender's shoes. Yes, they're saying don't buy a house, but what position are they in? Right, they're in a position where they don't need to buy one single house because they're buying, 100, 200, 300 unit apartment complexes. So that one house, again, is a struggle for them. So it's who you're speaking to, who that audience is that's receiving that message. And like Mike said, we are trying to change people's lives one property at a time. And I believe that one property you start with your own primary residence. That could be a single family, that could be a house hack, it could be a 4-unit, something like that. But you want to own property. Yeah,
and we were saying how, being creative with high interest rates, just kind of like, in short, like my partner Scott, we had, just because of the rental properties that we accumulated, so we started a call center. We built it to 300 employees and sold it. I was able to get equity stake in that business because I'm not a call center guy. Because of properties I've owned. I put properties to the table. It got me into a call center. It's amazing the things you can do, man. So buy a house.
So last question, I believe. Okay. And one of the things that I always kind of flip-flop on, and maybe not flip-flop on, but just making sure I have a clear understanding on is, right, sitting on dead equity. Like you said, hey, I got a 30% loan to value on each one of my properties. So right now with that other, let's just say 50% equity in those properties, do you feel that equity is dead, not being utilized, not active, or do you feel like, hey, I should pull that money out and really do some more transactions with that money?
Got it. We call that return on equity. So first thing, a lot of people have that question, even with their primary. Should I pull it out? Should I do this? Should I get a HELOC? What can you do with that money? What's your skill set? Are you able to pull it out and work it? Or are you going to pull it out and just sit there?
Right.
So I'm like, I like the security. Right. If an opportunity presents itself, like if I want to go do a fix and flip, I'm not going to refinance because I've been raising money for 14 years. I have access to money, so I don't have to pull that money out of a house. But if a bigger project presented itself, if I had my eyes on something, or I would, because I know how to potentially work it. But am I going to refi into a 6-7%, 8% rate right now because I refied when everything dropped.
Right.
So that's what I did. So I pulled money out. I dropped my rates to like 3%, and I used that cash and I bought more houses at the time.
Okay.
So, so it just depends on the So I would access it even if it did bring the rate up to 7-8%, and it was more expensive money. But if that next project paid to supplement that.
Yep.
So you're looking at all the angles. So yes, I would do it, but waiting for that time.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You have to understand. Can I return on equity? Just keep it simple as that.
Yeah, man. Return. All right, man. So we got our next guest coming in. So we're gonna wrap up our intimate discussion on real estate.
So thank you guys for being loyal listeners to the AZREIA Show. Don't forget the entrepreneurial assessment. And which is free, right? Go to the website.
It's free, man.
Go to the website. It's absolutely free.
AZREIA.org.
AZREIA.org
/ESA.
ESA. And then don't forget to go to AZREIA.org /calendar to see all of the events that we have coming up.
Yeah, events. We got our brand new online community. So members are posting deals that they have for sale, or they're looking to buy. They're asking each other questions. So check out the online platform. And if you like what we're doing here, if you have a question you want Marcus and I to answer on the podcast, can't guarantee when we'll do it, but shoot us a message, DM us online, or send a message to customer service. We're here for you. So I'm good, Marcus. You good?
All right. With that being said, enjoy your week. Thank you so much for being loyal listeners, and we would love to see you around the community. And when you see me and Mike, come up to us, shake our hands, introduce yourself to us. We're very, very personable people. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the AZREIA Show with your hosts, Marcus Maloney and Mike Del Prete. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you found this information valuable, head over to AZREIA.org and learn more about our community.